Boom. What is up, everybody? Do me a favor, hit me with the 3-hit combo because we are in for a very exciting video here. A nice little bonus upload. I was not expecting this video. I mean, I was expecting it at some point, but it kind of came out of nowhere. We are going to be watching the trailer for the new show, the new Netflix series by Vince Staples called The Vince Staples Show. I cannot wait. I have been anticipating this for quite some time. Vince Staples made a music video years ago and called the video The Vince Staples Show. It had like some skits in it. It was really funny. And it was like a precursor to this series here. It might have gotten picked up because of that music video. That's usually how it goes. You make like a short version or a pilot, and then people look at it and say, oh, I could see that as a show, then pick it up. I believe this is produced by Barris. At least that was a rumor when it first was announced. So I think that all that stuff is probably still true. But I'm just very excited to check out this trailer for the Vince Staples Show because I'm a huge fan of Vince Staples and I'm a huge fan of television shows. So those two things coming together, I have to check this show out, man. Vince Staples is the only artist that I have seen in concert twice or more than once at least, because he was opening both times, but I went to, what was the first one, the Earl Sweatshirt Doris tour a long time ago, not because it just recently had its 10-year anniversary. I'm not talking about the 10-year anniversary tour, I'm talking about the original Doris tour, and Vince Staples opened up for that. And then the following year I went to Joey Badass's Before the Money tour, which came out right before the Money album, and Vince Staples was opening for that show as well. So I'm a huge fan of his music. He has some like really good albums. I think that he has an album called Vince Staples. It's the self-titled album, Vince Staples by Vince Staples. I think that is literally a perfect album, front to back, cover to cover, no skips on that thing at all. And then he made another album like the following year, which, bro, he made a perfect album and then followed it up is kind of crazy. He has some amazing mixtapes as well. I've really been listening to him since like Stolen Youth. He had an album produced by Mac Miller called Stolen Youth. I've been listening to him since about that time. Either way, I got caught going down memory lane. We're here to check out the trailer for the Vince Staples Show because I'm very excited for it. I don't know. Should I make this like a first and final? I don't think I have any first and finals. You know what? This is a first and final now. I don't think I have any first and finals planned yet. Usually I do the Marvel movies plus some bonuses, but honestly, this year is really light for Marvel movies. We got like Deadpool 3, and that's about it. We do have some pretty good shows. I just finished Echo a little while ago, which was actually really good. One of their best Marvel series in a long time. So, but either way, we're going to make this the first and final of the year, checking out the Vince Staples Show. So I'm going to react to the trailer right now, and then I'm going to fast forward in time to February when the full show is out and I've checked out every single episode, and I'm going to give you guys a review as well. So this is going to be part 1, my reaction to the Vince Staples Show, and then we're going to do part 2 about a month from now in the future. For you guys, it'll only be a couple minutes. So if you're seeing this, then part 2 is coming right after. But for me, in real time, it'll be about a month. So without further ado, let's switch over to the reaction camera and let's get into the reaction. The Vince Staples Show. Whew, very excited for this. Let's get into it. Oh, I got to turn it up a bunch. It's only a minute, so.
I'm home.
Oh.
How was your day?
Okay, we got a love interest. We got Vince in the field.
I bailed you out last week.
We ain't got no chicken for you. That's cool.
Come on, Vince.
Hey, cuz.
Let me hold something, nephew.
Hey, what's up with dude? What's up with dude?
Anything interesting happen?
Hey, yo. Rick Ross.
Certain actions require responses.
Oh.
Who the fuck is Vince Staples?
Yo, something's really wrong with dude.
Not really.
Feeling like I'm floating to the ceiling, is it magic?
Y'all know who the fuck
Tell me
this
why
is?
you disappearing, is it magic?
I don't want to hang with the magic. These motherfuckers ain't got no taste. No taste. Culture yourselves.
Bro, not the robber recognizing him, bro. I hope he gets off because of that. That looked really good. I mean, it was really short, but it gave us a lot for a really short thing. The one thing I'm curious about,
I'm home.
is it going to be
How was your day?
serialized, or is it going to be sketch comedy? Like, are these going to be separate sketches held together? Is this going to be one coherent story that goes straight through?
That's cool.
Is it like, it could be serial, it could be episodic, so that every episode
Let me hold
feels like a new
something,
story. It feels like a, you know, its own self-contained story. It could be serial episodic, where it has elements of both. I don't think it's going to be like anthology or
Certain
straight up
actions require
sketch.
responses.
I think it'll be sketch with also a serialized element. Man, this looks so good, and we got damn near nothing. We got a minute.
Feeling like I'm floating to the ceiling. Is it
Yo, I'm so excited for this, man.
magic?
Like, this is one of my most anticipated shows in such a long time.
Ain't got no taste. No taste. Culture yourselves.
Oh, man. February 15th. So, like I said, that's about a month from today. It's actually a little bit less than a month, but, you know, close enough to a month that I can just say a month to save time. I can't wait. Decided in the middle of this video that this is going to be a first and final. So, you guys will see this once I have checked out my final, you know, the full show, and I'll give my final thoughts, my final review of the Vince Staples show. Spoiler alert, I mean, I think I'm going to like it. At this point, I like it. I'm excited for it. I'm hyped for it. So, something terribly wrong would have to happen for my review to not reflect that, but it's possible, man. My review could be completely different than my reaction, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to really enjoy this. I cannot wait for it to drop so I can check it out. And that was it for the first reaction of the Vince Staples show. So I'm going to have to fast forward time just a little bit. Just, you know, I'm going to turn the dial a bit. Hopefully I don't jump too far. But the next time you see me, I will have already seen the entire Vince Staples show, however long it may be. And I'm going to give my full review of it. So I'll see you guys there 1 month in the future. All right, we are back. It is about a month in the future from the last clip that I shot the last time you guys saw me. That was back in the past. Now we are in the future, where I have seen the entire show of the Vince Staples show on Netflix. The whole thing is out now. It's only 5 episodes. I've seen them all. I'm going to talk about them all. But if you guys want to check it out for yourself, I would suggest you go ahead. Go check it out on Netflix. Out now. And yeah, in honor of Black History Month, why don't you go support a new black story creator, showrunner. I'm going to get into details about how I felt about the entire show, starting off with the spoiler-free review. Then we're going to get into the spoiler/the details for each episode. Since there was only 5 episodes, I feel like I can talk about each one without this video taking too long. My spoiler-free review of the Vince Staples show is that this show was great. I really did enjoy it. It was even better than I expected. And as to answer the question that I was really running through my head when I was watching the trailer, is this a serial show? Is this a serialized show? Is this an episodic show? Is it somewhere in between? I think it definitely is somewhere in between. It's a serial episodic show, because there are elements of the story that carry on from episode to episode, but not that many. Whereas every episode can be seen as like a self-contained story with just a few details trickling down from episode to episode. One thing I noticed about the show is it just had such a unique voice. Like the way that Vince moved around this world, the way he interacted with his characters, very unique. I mean, it was almost like standoffish, and just a fun way to do a main character who was kind of defensive, I guess you could say, at a lot of his environment and a lot of the other characters that were coming around him. And even though I will say that there were some similarities in this show to other shows, most specifically like Atlanta, as that's another show about a rapper living in a modern society, and it also has this sort of surreal, abstract kind of twist to it. But even with the similarities between those two shows, they were still very distinct. My only complaint about the show is that it's short. It's only 5 episodes, and the episodes themselves are pretty short. And while that was good, because it didn't take me long at all to watch the show, rewatch the show, and write my review for each episode, I enjoyed it, so I would prefer a lot more episodes. I wouldn't mind a part 2 to this first season with 5 more episodes, and then 2 more seasons after that with 8 to 10 episodes each, because I really did enjoy the show and I would love to watch more scenarios with these characters. The pilot is really, really good, and the pilot is usually the crux of your show, is how you show what the entire show is going to be about, but in a very short amount of time. And this was a really good pilot, and also it was followed by a really good second episode. Sometimes, because I watch a lot of pilots, I kind of disassociate and I don't pay as much attention to the pilot as I should have, and then later in the show I'm kind of trying to catch up and put the pieces together and all the details. That wasn't the case for this one. This pilot actually had me really locked in, paying attention the entire time and enjoying it the entire time. Like I said, the second episode followed up the pilot really well, so I knew by the time I had finished that second episode, I already knew that this was going to be one of my favorite shows of the year, and by the time I finished the show, it was definitely confirmed. So yeah, that's all of my spoiler-free review of the Vince Staples Show. The too long didn't read review is that I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It's a unique show with a unique voice, but it also does feel familiar in certain aspects. So you won't be too far confused or too far gone from the purpose of the story if you have seen other shows like Atlanta. I know there's some other shows I could probably compare it to as well, but Atlanta is definitely the first one that comes to mind. So now I'm going to get into it with the more detailed spoiler review of the series, talking about each episode. So if you have not seen it and you do want to see it without it being spoiled, this is your time. This is your official spoiler warning. So go ahead and check out the Vince Staples Show on Netflix, and if you enjoy it, then click the thumbs up button. But we're going to get into the spoilers now, starting with episode 1, the pilot. So starting off with episode 1, the pilot, Pink House. Like I said, this was a really good pilot, and a pilot is very important to a series success, and I think this one definitely gave us a great idea of what the show was going to be like going forward. Now visually, the show, it has a very unique visual style as well, where it has these subtle camera movements, this slow sort of pushing in, pulling out, rounding a corner, panning, tilting, was all very slow and smooth, and that helped with the like surreal, dreamlike aesthetic of the actual show. With this pilot, this is where I noticed it wasn't completely serialized, and it was more serial episodic, because this first episode had a lot of really fun reoccurring characters that didn't actually ever show back up in the series, which I thought was an interesting choice. Didn't take away from it too much for me, but it definitely was an interesting choice. Like, obviously there were some characters that were kind of locked down to this one location, I'll just say, so I didn't expect for everyone to show back up. But there was Bree, who I think was Vince's sister. It's never really confirmed in the show, and like I said, she doesn't show up anywhere else in the show, so it was hard to actually tell. And then there were a bunch of side characters and officers. The characters that do reoccur throughout the series are Vince's mom and Vince's girlfriend Deja, but outside of that, everyone else kind of was like one episode. All in all, like I said, this was a great pilot, and the only problem I had with it is I might have liked the second episode better. I get why this one was the pilot and that one was the second episode, but I really did enjoy the second episode. So let's talk about the second episode, which is titled Black Business. A really good title for this episode, and this is probably my favorite episode in the entire season. While the first episode does do a better job of establishing like the conflicts, the characters, and things like that, things you would want from a pilot, this one was just fun. It was a bunch of fun. It was funny throughout. It had the most laughable moments. It kept me engaged in a way that was actually similar to what the pilot did. I was constantly on my toes because I was just wondering, how did Vince get into the situation? How is he going to get out of it? But it was clever enough that everything just really flowed together, and it was unexpected, and it takes a pretty familiar situation, dramatic situation of a bank heist, a bank robbery, and it tells it in a really different way with a lot of different spins. So I appreciate it for taking something that we thought was already, well-treaded waters and revisiting it in a way that was unexpected. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite episode, episode 2, titled Black Business. Episode 3 was The Brown Family. That was the title of it, and it was a family reunion episode. This one is the most like normal, down-to-earth episode, even though it still does have its crazy out there premises. And honestly, this had less dramatic stakes for Vince, as it was a pretty calm episode for him, and it was more about his mom and his girlfriend getting along, bonding over something, and also bringing her into the family to meet the rest of Vince's family. Really good episode. It was really like classic comedy, classic scenarios, and also a lot of fun characters that showed up in this that were never to be seen again. But I really did like the Brown family episode. It felt like a bit of a departure, but not far off at all to when we came back to the dramatic scenarios that Vince is usually dealing with. And speaking of that, episode 4, Surf City, is actually titled The Red Door, but it was the Surf City episode. This was a fun episode, and it had a lot of classic callbacks. Honestly, it reminded me of Bebe's Kids, but I can also see other classic shows and movies like maybe National Lampoon's Vacation. It definitely was just a more universal story that we've seen before of like going to an amusement park, but when you're not a kid, when you are more of an adult, you're old enough that it's not much of an amusement park and it's more of like an annoyance park. That's what this episode, The Red Door, was about. So it was a bunch of just hijinks and making this seemingly normal trip to the amusement park seem like one of the worst days of Vince's life. This one also really goes into the more surreal, abstract, unexplained parts of the story, where there are a lot of things that Vince runs into in this episode that just doesn't ever really get explained. Like, he had to fight a bunch of mascots. He went to a magic show where someone might have died. I really don't know. And he also bought chicken. That was about $100. This episode had a lot of the surreal nature, a lot of the really dreamlike scenarios that the show has been known for. But at the same time, it was a fun, relatable story of going to the amusement park. And also, this one is the only one that really had a dramatic conflict for Vince and his love interest, Deja. So this was the one that felt like their relationship actually did develop a little more. I mean, maybe it regressed or maybe it progressed. It's hard to tell at the end of the day. But at least something happened to shake up their relationship dynamic a bit. And then the final episode of this 5-part miniseries was titled White Boy. Now, this episode was a bit different because it started off pretty slow and retrospective. It gave us some flashbacks of Vince's early life, how his mom and him used to live when he was a younger kid and he was going to school. He was a school-age kid. And honestly, I thought that was what the episode was going to be about, but then it flashes back to present day where Vince is visiting his old school, and there are a couple new kids at the school that kind of mirror his experience of when he was younger. And just when you thought that maybe that's what the episode was going to be about, looking back and looking forward, comparing a modern day kid in school to a kid who went to school a couple of decades ago, no, it basically switches on a dime and switches up to a action-packed chase sequence. Basically, there's a character, you guys can't really see him, but that's him in the minivan, who is chasing Vince all around the hood. We have no idea why. We don't really get any details as to what the conflict is, but I don't think that matters that much, as it's more about how did Vince get into this situation and how is he going to get out of it, as with many of the episodes in this miniseries. But it was fun to watch. It had you on your toes. It was an action scene that was packed with action and did not disappoint in that scenario. And in the end, Vince did find a clever way to get out of the situation. I don't know about, completely unscathed, but we will say relatively unharmed. And this was a pretty good episode, different tonally than the rest of the episodes for the most part because it is action-packed. But it does come back to that motif of this show where basically a lot of dark, dramatic situations happen, but they're looked at through a pretty surreal, like just a different light, a different perspective that actually brings some levity to some really dark and really dramatic situations. So that was all of the episodes of the Vince Staples Show. I gave a little bit about why I liked them, what I liked about them, what they brought to the series. So they're each different. They each have a unique thing that they brought to the series, or explained about the series, or explained about the characters. But there was this common thread through all of them, that you were almost watching real lives of people, but through a comical lens of, basically like it was televised. Like these were dramatized situations that somebody probably really went through and really had to deal with and endure. And at the time, they seemed very dramatic, life and death, the highest stakes there could possibly be. And now they're being revisited through a much more surreal lens, a much more dreamlike lens and state, to where you can really start to analyze the character moments. You can really start to analyze the dichotomy of just how dark someone's situations can be and how light they can look at it. And that final episode, the White Boy, definitely reiterates that, where the main character who is hunting Vince down is doing so while he's kind of gaslighting his son about the actual reality. And that I can see that dichotomy, and I can see why that works, and it makes these situations a lot more acceptable, a lot more palatable, and allows a lot more people to deal with them than they normally would if it was in a much more dramatic light and tone. So that is my review of the Vince Staples Show. I was impressed with the trailer, but I was even more impressed with the final series. I think it does have some similarities to shows that has come before, but it has its own unique voice, and because of that, I wouldn't mind watching a ton more episodes of the Vince Staples Show. But that is going to be it for that. That was my first reaction, my final review, spoiler-free and spoiler-filled thoughts. So that was going to be another first and final. And like I said in the beginning, happy Black History Month. I have another video that I'm working on, a special video. If I can get it finished at the same time as this video, it'll probably be up for members only. So if you want to check out that video, I'll give you a hint. It's about the Avatar: The Last Airbender fighting game, and it's me talking about what I want that to look like and what characters I would want to see in it. If you want to check out that video right now, you're going to have to be a channel member. So go down by the subscription button, check out the button that says join, and you can join at 2 different tiers starting at $5 a month. But if you don't want to pay, I do still appreciate subscriptions, video likes, hitting that notification bell and all that, because it does really help grow the channel. And that video will probably be public for all subscribers later down the line. But that's going to be it for this review reaction of the Vince Staples Show. That's going to be it for this first and final video. One more thing I got to ask of you guys, and that's boom, to hit me with the 3-hit combo. I need you to smash the like button like Ryu, spear the subscribe button like Scorpion, kick the notification bell like Kazuya for another first and final. I have a bunch more of these videos. I've recorded the first, so now I'm just waiting for the final. So you can look forward to a first and final for Deadpool and Wolverine, a first and final for X-Men 97, and a first and final for some other things that I have yet to even see or plan or know about yet. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. So I hope you did enjoy it, and I hope you guys check out the Vince Staples Show if you already have Netflix and you're looking for something to watch. But that is going to be it for this one. Actually, I have a stream this weekend, so one more announcement. Capcom Cup is finally here, and by the time you're seeing this video, it's about to come to an end. So this weekend, I believe it's Sunday, but I will change the information if it's on a different day. But this weekend will be the finale of Capcom Cup. Everyone who has qualified from last June to now is ready, and there will only be $1 million grand prize finalist at that top 1 spot. So I have no idea who it's going to be, but I do know I am going to be restreaming my watch party of top 8, and I'm going to be checking out the grand finale, the big one for Street Fighter 6. And then next weekend, I think we're going to be back with Mortal Kombat 1, because there is a offline tournament in Brazil, and also both games, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, are about to get a new character. So we'll be back in those games for new main alert, starting next Friday and then the Friday after that. But that's going to be it for this one, you guys. So tell me if you feel me. Tell me how you felt about this video, and I'll see you next time in another new one. Peace out. Oh, the fact that grab caught him was so ignorant.
Gotcha, bitch.
This is why they hate King players, bro. Like, they hate grapplers in general. But, bro, that was so ignorant. Oh, man. Okay. Didn't know you could just do that.